We are concerned not merely with the technical problem of securing and maintaining peace, but also with the important task of education and enlightenment.
Hanging out with Grant Cameron here. Excited about your new book, Grant.
Yeah.
Breakthrough.
Yeah.
I heard you started doing some magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy
Kind of a controversial subject.
Yeah,
Let's get into it.
It is. I mean, totally. And I gotta say, I got a lot of respect. Takes some balls to do that. I mean, I've dabbled with mushrooms too, but I don't think I would ever do it to the extent that you did. That's pretty brave. Pretty
Yeah.
neat.
Well, I guess what it comes back to is this sort of idea that when I had the download experience in 2012, this noetic experience, and the whole idea behind noetic is it's knowledge. It's like you're talking to God, like you get you get a message. So Desta had done channeling and stuff like that, and I would ask Desta questions like, hey, ask him this or ask him that, or I would follow what she's saying, because the idea is Desta's broken through. She's figured this out. She's done this, you know, all these protocols and stuff, and then she got a little bit of help, how to do this stuff, how to get in the field and get the answers. But I couldn't do that kind of stuff. I can't channel.
Right.
I've meditated and stuff, and nothing really came. I had the experience where if I walk or something, I can sort of get into a flow state and stuff will come to me. That's me my contact modality. But when I heard about these people with psychedelics, then it was pretty scary stuff. Because I'd never done anything.
McKenna, who were some of the other ones you heard?
Well, Terrence, or even in contact modalities, the idea that people are picking up stuff, or we just did the book. Desta and I are just doing a book right now about the LSD thing. The whole the story about LSD. That was the only drug in 10,000 drugs that this guy reran. 5 years later, he ran this thing and said, no, it's not good for anything, and they're doing the tests and park with all this drug off. The next one, they're doing these testings for this drug company, and then 5 years later, he goes, I had that LSD 25. I should go back and redo that one. Never had he ever done that before. And that was when the atomic bomb was being developed.
Wow.
And it was like, was this the intelligence putting in this balance to the atomic bomb with this opening thing that would open up consciousness? So I knew these connections that you could do it. But the problem with psychedelics is when you do it, it's like you get on the roller coaster and you ain't getting off. It's like it's out of control. And that's why a lot of people don't advise it, is because you really don't have any control over actually what's happening. So when I did, I remember the first time, it was like, but I was determined. I figured like, this is going to get me where I want to go.
Well, you made sure that you were in a proper setting, in a proper environment. You didn't
want to
do it just
as much as I could.
Just to party.
In terms of in terms of I used the John Hopkins protocol, which is what I had studied. So
what's that? John Hopkins.
John Hopkins. They've actually got a psychedelic department in the university, and this is like a very conservative, major medical facility in the United States. And they've been working on it for 20 years. So I'd looked at their stuff, and I'd looked at the stuff with people who are dying, and they would have these videos of people who, and they all these people trying to get in this study saying we're dying, and then saying no, you're not dying, and because you had to have less than 6 months to live, and they would have these people that were their lives totally revolutionized, like, oh, okay, I'm ready to die now, everything's good, and it's like, and then the people were cured, PTSD, like combat PTSD is not curable by anything. You cannot cure it with.
And that was recently.
They've been doing this for 20 years. So I've been, and I knew that they had this thing where Griffiths, who's the main guy that was running it, and he won't say where they did it. He's a big meditator guy, and he was trying to get the relationship to meditation, and I think it's 70% of the people who had the high dose, so you're talking 5 grams or more, had said, and that's what they give them, 5 grams equivalent, is they said it was, 70% said it was one of the 3 major events of their life, in line with birth of a child, death of a parent.
Wow.
It was that dramatic that these people said, and it may have been a bad experience. Or like at London College, I think they do in England, they do this stuff, and they do it on PTSD people, and stuff. And then David Nutt says they're all bad trips. And that's the whole thing, is it brings out this stuff, and you got to bring the fear and all this stuff to the surface, and you got to deal with it. So I knew all this stuff was there, and that there was this bad trip that 30% of all people have at one point during their experience. They have a bad where they go into a fear state, and so I knew all that stuff was going to go on. But I was so determined that I said, okay, you know, I'll give it a shot, because I knew I'd be in the field, and let's just see what happens. So I did it, and I always intended to do the high dose. There was a couple times when I got so floored by what they were doing, like it gets pretty scary at times.
What do you mean what they were doing?
Well, whatever it is. I mean, because you're not in control. Whatever it is, something's controlling this thing. I mean, it may be your higher self or something, but it's like you're on a roller coaster. I mean,
You're right.
you ain't got any control over what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, for example, I would do the thing where when it first starts, I always talk about this thing, but I got this idea of vibration, that you're not going anywhere. That when you die or out of body experience or whatever, it's all vibration. And I know that from this, is because you'd sit there and you have to wait for it to come on. So you take your 5 grams or whatever, and you've got the John Hopkins music going. They've got an actual playlist that takes you through. It starts very sort of slow, and then it gets this very dramatic music, whatever. And they know where you are in the experience. So it's a 6-hour tape, and it takes you through. So I had the headset on. I was completely sealed off. And with the covers and all this sort of stuff, and with the blindfold, and I absolutely determined I would not do anything. So you're sitting there waiting for this thing to come on, and all of a sudden you'd feel the vibration, and that's why I know vibration is very important, because I would feel it. In fact, I would have to go to the bathroom. It was like, wow, I know it's about to happen, because it's vibrating your prostate. And you go, oh shit, go to the bathroom. It's like, and I know, okay, it's about to happen, and you go to the bathroom, you come out. And then it was the old deal was when the thing started, they play at the high dose, not at the low dose, but at the high dose, you're going to have what they call the ego death. So they're going to take your ego out. And I make this joke now, I say, in the human body, there's 330 billion cells die every day, and nobody gives a shit. Who cares? It's when the ego cell is going to die. That's when it's panic. See, and
So
that's what they do.
Can you explain this ego death to me a bit?
Well, what they're doing is they're taking out your ego, and that's, I think, one of the main lessons I learned in the whole thing is they just hate ego. They called me ego boy. They were just like, they just would do these references, and you're an ignorant, arrogant little piece of shit, and you think you know everything.
So would you say then that is an outside entity, an outside?
No, that's the whole idea that you believe you're the player on the stage. You actually believe you're playing this role, and you got to remember who you are. And so it's taking out that the voice in the head, because what the idea we have in contact modalities is, well, the left brain is causing the noise. So the little ego is talking, and that's not you. That's people believe that's you.
I know that.
Okay, so what the idea of the contact modality is, you've got to shut down the noise in the left brain. You got to shut down the ego, which is making the voice, which is talking and stuff. And once you shut that down, you can pop into the field. But it's the noise. The signal is there for everybody. So I know that when you go, especially when you do the high dose, you know that there's going to be something. Especially the one set of thing I did, which when you talk about the Skinwalker Ranch, when these guys talk about how afraid they were, there's one thing I know with psychedelics is if you take penis envy mushrooms, I had 5 sessions with them. Every single time, it was like going to hell. It was like, there's no other way to explain it. It was, and the one last one I still remember, they were really dark sort of ones.
And you did it multiple times.
Well, I really wanted to use it, like the last one, I wanted to use it up. There was one 250 milligram capsule left, and I got these capsules, and I go, well, there's a dark one. That's I said, what the hell? What's it? 250
it's
milligrams.
Friday night.
250 milligrams ain't going to make any difference. I mean, I got 4.75 grams of the other stuff, and the same thing. And you'd sit there, and the vibration would start, and you'd be sitting there waiting for something to jump out or something like this. And what they were trying to do is take out the ego. And I can't remember. I remember there was one. It was this thing that really sort of scares me. Is they do this thing, like everything turns to like glass. Everything's like broken glass. It's just, whoa. And this stuff, and all this broken, like it's really sharp, and it's coming at you. And then this woman comes out, this really ugly looking old woman comes out, and it's like, oh my God. And the thing that they do every time, it's the weirdest thing. And I know how they do it, because you're saying, I know, they're going to throw something at me, the vibration's coming, okay.
And this is while you're sitting in a room alone.
I'm lying there with the blindfold and the music going.
Holy
And
shit.
the worst part is John Hopkins. I don't know why they do it. They have this German music on there about this time.
Oh,
and
shit.
it's like the Third Reich music, and it's like grand music.
And this
it always
old
seems
lady
to
comes marching.
time at the time when this thing comes on. Now sometimes you don't really get that really violent thing, but in the penis envy mushrooms, every single time it was like, and they could trick you. It was like you say, I'm gonna fall for it this time. They're not tricking me this time. I know. And every time it would always be the same thing. It would be like you think it's gonna last forever. You're not getting out of this, and it's like, okay, I took it. I'm the stupid guy. I'm never gonna do this again.
You're gonna have to let me make a playlist for you next time, Grant. Forget that John Hopkins shit.
I've used other ones. NYU, NYU, but they always.
Did you notice a difference? Any similarities, or?
There may have been, but it was a relief. But the John Hopkins thing, you realize these guys have used this hundreds and hundreds of times. They've worked on these songs, exactly which song has to be in which place.
So what happened? What would happen? That was the scariest part when it was
I don't remember. All I remember was it was like the worst thing. It was like totally out of control. I can't even remember. That's the parts of the book, the things that were happening. But it was like you'd be pleading like, "Oh my God, get me out of here! Oh no, why?" Like I can't believe it. And it was. And the only way you can describe it is like hell, and it wasn't like anybody's torturing you, but it was like totally. I remember the one time I was meditating. Instead of lying down, I said, "Oh, I'm going to meditate." So I'm sitting on a couch, and suddenly it was like it started, and I couldn't control it.
Did you have the blindfold on?
I had the blindfold, and then I tried to lie down, and I'm going, "Holy God!" And then I had no music. I didn't have the John Hopkins playlist, and I go, "Oh my God!" I go running out of the room back into my bedroom, and I put the headset on. And as soon as I put the headset on, then it all just sort of calmed down.
Wow, cool.
And it was this whole thing. So when they do this thing, you totally lose control, and it's like you're in hell, and everything's out of control.
So music plays a big part in it, right?
Well, but the one time I did it without music. I'd never do it without music again. It's like that one time was the worst I ever had.
Tell me about it.
Well, that was when I was meditating. So I said, "Oh, I'm going to sit here and meditate," and like I'm going to sit and meditate instead of listening
Maybe that's
to music.
what I did wrong, because I used to do it sitting around in apartments, with other people, just getting stoned, and some of those trips were not that fun. But
yeah, that's.
Hey, you got any mushrooms, Dustin? No, okay, sorry.
So anyway, then what would happen was you would say, "Oh, this is it," and then you'd resolve, and this is where the ego gets crushed. You'd resolve. You'd say, "Okay, I'm going to own it. I was the asshole who took them. This is how I'm going to live forever." You fall for it every time. You say, "This is it. This is hell. This is how I'm gonna. This is the rest of my eternity." And as soon as you said that, it was boom, gone.
Oh, so.
And then you were on the other side. It was like okay, he's ready. Bring him in.
So the acceptance of maybe
is the ego. You have to surrender. That's why we put it in the very beginning of the book. If you look at the beginning of the book, I have the thing. Surrender is the rule. Believe me, surrender is the only rule. And that's what I learned was this thing. The minute you surrender, you say, "Okay,
and so
I'm toast."
And so you were out of this hellscape as soon as
Instantly. And then I'd say, "Oh shit, I fell for it again."
Oh shit.
It
would keep happening. So
I'll tell you one in the second book because it's in my mind.
Second book.
And this is why I stopped doing it. I mean, the last one I did was 2 months ago. I'll tell you what. And they get you every time. Like you say, "I'm not falling for it this time, man. They're not going to do this to me again." I know. As soon as it comes, I'm going to surrender. And then they pull it. So then I had this test. So I had a medical test, and I was coming back, and I was like, "Oh, this could be really bad," So then I'm sitting there, and I say, "Okay, I know how to do it. I'll take 5 grams, and I'll go and like the people who are dying of cancer. I'll be everything's cool now, And so I go there, and then I'm sitting there, and this is how they do it. So it's sitting there, and all of a sudden I call it peeking. It's like because I can't see anything. I never have any visuals. I never have any visuals. I can just sense things. So I sense like someone's peeking, and it was like down here and over there, and it's a guy on a computer. And I'm looking, and I go, and I'm sort of sensing back, and I go, "What the F did you hack reality?" And boom, the guy's gone.
Whoa.
And it was sort of so that one, and then the next time that what they did to me was I'm sitting there again, and it's the beginning, and this is the ego crushing. So it's like I said, like 330 billion cells die every day, and you don't really care. But when the ego cell is going to die, then it's like different. So I'm there, and all of a sudden, shit, they're back. And there's a bunch of them on computers.
Describe them. What are they?
well, no, just guys,
Just like
guys,
guys.
and because I don't see anything. I just sense.
I'm
there's-
picturing like machine elves or something.
No,
like
there's
the
guys,
TNT
actual
trips or
like
something.
military guys on
Oh.
computers. And the second time there's more than one, and I start talking to these guys, like, what the hell are you doing? How you and stuff. And then the guy says, we've decided we're going to make the game more interesting, like this simulated universe thing. We're going to make the game more interesting. We're going to take your piece off the board. So not only are you going to die, I mean your soul. They're taking your soul. They're going to take your piece of
Holy shit.
information. They're going to delete your
They said
information.
that to you. And oh my god.
Then I'm like totally freaked out.
No
And then they did a
kidding.
third time. I fell for it a third
And all
time.
these stories are in this book.
No, this is the second book. The second
Oh,
book.
in the
This is
second
why